I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the Power 365 show, where I interview staff at Microsoft across the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 technology stack. I hope you'll find this podcast educational and inspire you to do more with this great technology. Now, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is from the United States. He works at Microsoft as a principal software engineer and manager. You can find links to his bio and any social media, etc., in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the show, Sitaram.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me here.
Good to have you on the show. Today's episode, of course, it's a wrap, right? It's all around what's the new Power App wrapper to produce mobile apps out, particularly in the enterprise. But before we unpack that, tell us a bit about food, family, and fun. What do they mean to you?
Oh, food. I like spicy food. I just find the restaurants which has most spicy food around this area. I'll just go try all of that. Yeah. And family, I have two kids who keep me busy all the time. One is 13. Daughter, you know how teenagers are. They test my patience. And my son is 8-year-old. We play soccer together. Yeah.
Where did you originate from?
I'm from India. So I joined Microsoft also in India, and then it's been a long journey. But yeah, I'm from India.
Wow. Any particular region?
South side of India, it's like the state is called Andhra Pradesh. It's like, only a couple of states below India. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Tell me, how did you end up moving into Microsoft? Or even further back, what made you take a career choice in IT?
Oh, IT was always my passion. When during childhood days, when I was playing video games, also I didn't know, how this is being built, right? What's behind the scene? What's going on, right? So with that, I used to passion towards how this is being built, right? So I started learning, the first language I learned was BASIC. Long ago, it was just a small programming language, and then I learned VB, C++. With that passion, I took computer science as my majors. Did a 4-year college, and then I worked in a couple of servicing industry. And then Microsoft is a dream company for many people, right? So literally studied a lot for getting into Microsoft, and then joined back in 2006. I joined Microsoft. Yeah.
Wow. So how long have you been in the business applications team?
It's been 4 years.
Okay. What do they still call it, the business applications team internally? Is you're in BizApps, or is there another name for it?
So business application group is a bigger group. Our group is Power Apps. We specifically develop apps for, browser, Android, iOS, and any kind of applications required for your business. You can build it with writing least amount of code.
Yeah. So let's jump into there. First of all, the focus of this episode is around the Power Apps wrapper. In your terms, what's the Power Apps wrapper?
Yeah, it's officially called Power Apps Native Apps. Okay. The initial terminology was given Power Apps Wrap, and then we rebranded it to Power Apps Native Apps. So basically, the native apps enables you to wrap any Canvas app that you build and add your branding to it, custom branding to it, and create an iOS and Android app natively so that you can distribute it for all your mobile users, right? So Android, the output, once you build an Android app, is called an APK, and for iOS, it's called IPA. So once you build a Canvas app, we give you these two files out, right? Isn't it amazing, right? You build a Canvas app and then you just get these two. And once you get that, you distribute it through your own stores. Most of the enterprises have Intune, they have app centers, you can distribute it to Google Play Store. For Apple, they have their own, enterprise business program as such, which is Apple Business Manager. So you can use that and distribute this app. So without writing any single line of code, you can get these two files, which are one for Android, one for iOS, and distribute it to your, mobile users.
So just let's unpack that a bit. So, I work for IBM and we have our own enterprise I've got iOS devices, so I've got an IBM app store that's still provided by Google. Sorry, no, it's not. Provided by Apple. So in that scenario, I could deploy apps that are still for the stakeholders in the organization, but they don't depend on the Power App being installed. Is that the case? Are they just a fully standalone app in that right? Or is there still a dependency on the Power App to be installed on the device?
No, you don't have to. So there is no need of Power Apps to be installed on the device. This is a complete standalone app which you can install from your own favorite store.
So why do we need that when we've already got the Power App and we can, of course, launch any app we create in there? Why is this a use case? Why is it Microsoft invested in this area?
Yeah, so if you look at it, right, there are multiple steps when you use it in your mobile app, which is, hey, you should install your Power App, and then you should search for your app list, and then there are two reasons why we did this. One, the many customers who ask for branding experience, right? They are very, very particular, right? We want our brand, our employees wants to install the app, or they should click on the logo that we want them to click on, right? So which is a fair ask. It's Power Apps is just a platform, but in fact, they are building their apps for their needs. So branding their app for themselves, which makes sense. So that's a primary motive. And the second motive is, if you, in general today, if you go click on any app within Power App, and when you start, playing the app, it downloads all the assets that are required to your device and then start, playing it. With Wrap, I'm going a little technical, but with Wrap, we will bundle all the assets. Right, we'll package all the assets for you, and when they download the app, it comes along with it, right? But when you play it, it just opens like that, right? Our SLA is less than 3 seconds, less than 4 seconds. You will be able to open the app and start, consuming it.
Excellent. So there's a massive performance jump by doing it this way. There's the consistency of brand across the organization. People are familiar with app stores. They know how to go and consume that. And let's say the organization's just deployed 1,000 Power Apps and they're using just the Power App tool. You don't have to sort through all those icons to get to the app that I want to use. Is that some of it?
Exactly.
Yep. I want to dispel something and just get your clarity on it, because some people, I feel, will listen to this and go, oh, this is awesome. I can create a native app that is visible to our customers. Tell me how you answer that.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. So this is not for consumer-based apps. So this is still under the umbrella of a tenant, right? So you have an app which runs within your own tenant today, and you brand it. You have your own native standalone app, which also runs under the same tenant, right? So You're absolutely right. So this is not for consumers. This is still for only enterprises.
Excellent. How do I get access? If if I'm the admin of my Power Platform tenant, what are the steps that I need to take to light up and be able to start, wrapping my apps and getting those two output files, one for Google Play and one for the Apple App Store?
Correct. So you need to have a solution installed in your environment, which is called Wrap for Power Apps. We did not install it by default as of today, because we want to test the waters first, how well the need is before we go to everybody. And it looks like there's a lot of craving for this feature, and we are actually enabling this for everyone from end of this month. The deployment for the whole, any solution that if you want to deploy, the process is 6 weeks, because we want to safely deploy. So we are starting the deployment from end of this month, but if you want to go and pursue, try this option right now, go to your Dynamics apps, go to resources, and then search for Wrap for Power Apps and install that solution in that environment. And that environment, if you select any app, you should be able to, click on Wrap and then follow the steps from there.
Fantastic. Okay, so what other prerequisites are needed? Once I've got in there, what are the prerequisites?
Right. So first of all, you need to have a developer account. Right, because all the files, the 2 files that I mentioned earlier, APKs and IPAs, if you want to install and try it out on your mobile, or if you want to push it to any of your favorite stores, the developer account is a mandatory. So as an admin, you need to have a developer account.
So
once you have that,
just one thing, just to clarify the developer account. You're not talking about a Power App developer account. You're talking about a developer account on those either Google Play or iOS, right? Stores.
Correct. Exactly. So you need to have an Apple developer account or a Google developer account.
Excellent.
And second thing, you need to have a knowledge on how to sign them. right? We have that documented perfectly. There are just 3 simple steps. Just go, if you can go follow it, then you create your certificate and then you can sign. And then you need to create your app, right? You need to create your app ID, which will be tied to the Power Apps app. The app ID I'm talking about is the app ID, which you create in the app registration page in your Azure portal. So you should be an admin. If you go create that, you'll get an app ID. And then you need to tie up with the Power Apps app. So you need to know how to create an app ID. But with V2, we'll create it for you. You really don't have to worry about it. Everything happens behind the scene. This is just for admins' knowledge. And also you need to have an app center. You need to create an org. You need to create an app folder where the APKs and IPs will go and reside after the build process is complete. You just need to know, hey, there is an app center where you should go look for it. But we have automated that in V2 as well. So App Center is something which you should own. And of course, this is a premium feature. You should have a Dataverse and, app solution and everything to be installed before you start using this.
Totally. Now, you mentioned version 1, version 2 a few times there. Can you unpack what the differences are between these versions?
I was waiting for you to ask this question. So V1 a few months ago, which has a lot of steps, manual steps. There are close to 16 manual steps,
Wow.
And user has to choose, the name and then get the go to Azure. Hey, get this ID, put it here. Hey, go to Azure, give this respective permissions for Android platform, for iOS platform, take those hashes, and then come and tell us to the Power Apps. Hey, go to App Center. Here is where output folder has to be. Create those folders, give respective permissions, bring back that URL. So there are a bunch of manual steps in V1. Few of the customers were confused, right? Hey, I'm missing something here. I missed this step. So we were helping customers to rectify those mistakes. And we came up with V2, right? So now V2 is completely wizard based. There are 5 steps, which you'll just click next.
Yes.
You have eye icon on every text box that you see, on every drop down that you see. Click on it. It will clearly tell you this needs this information, and we go on behalf of you to Azure. We create the ID, we put it here. We go to App Center. We take your token, your consent, we go to App Center, create the locations, we'll populate it here. So our goal is you should not go away from the wizard. You should not go away from Power Apps page, wherever you are, creating this native apps, wherever you are wrapping this or packaging this. Do not leave that page. Next, click on build. You should be getting it. So that's huge improvements we have done in V1 and V2. And another huge improvement we have done in V2 is V1, the whole building process is close to 1.5 hours, right? Because we need to take the code, build it, one for Android, one for iOS. So once you click on build, it actually takes 1.5 hours for us, to give the output back. V2, it is 10 minutes, right?
Wow.
Click on it. In 10 minutes, you have 2 files that you can basically push it to your stores, and then your customers are ready to download.
Incredible.
That's a huge improvement we have done on V2. Yep.
Yeah. Was it a case of just throwing more resources at it, or did you just optimize some code, or what was the story there?
Yeah, it was not just throwing the resources. The number of resources is still the same. In V1, because it was initial phase, we are building the entire code, right? Everything is required. Just take everything, just build everything together and then give everything. So we did not take chance, right, of losing anything. So after V1 being 1.5 hours, we wanted to improve it. We started digging deep and understanding what exactly is being built, what is not being built, how many packages we can pre-build. So we took all that can be pre-built, we kept it in a folder, in a location. And then any changes that our customers are doing for their app, their assets and everything, we are bringing that. And we are packaging only the difference. Right. That brought us the time from 1.5 hours to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Incredible. And what about multiple apps wrapping at a time?
You can, right? So it's not just one app that you can wrap or create a native app, a standalone app. So you can basically create one Power App, mobile app, and then you can have the navigation links to app 1, app 2, app 3. You have app 0, you have app 1, 2, 3. And then when you actually started packaging it, all you can do is select the app 0 as a primary app, and you can create multiple secondary apps. You can tag them app 1, app 2, app 3, and then ask it to wrap it. So what's happening behind the scene is we download the assets of all the apps, app 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we package it into a standalone app and then give it to you. So when you actually play the app, you'll first see the app 0, where you have navigation to all these other apps. When you click on that app 1, immediately opens. I can say it confidently because all the assets are already downloaded, right?
Nice.
All it has to do is just open it. So, yeah.
Massive improvement. Tell me about authentication of a wrapped app. Is it consistent with how we'd currently authenticate?
Yes. So we're not changing anything in the authentication model. It remains exactly same as how it works for Power Apps Mobile. Any enhancements that we are doing for Power Apps Mobile will also be taken into this wrapped app.
Nice. Outside of, what I can normally customize around a user interface and user experience in the app, what are the other customizable features that are more specific to a wrapped app?
They are majorly the thing when you open an app, first thing that the mobile users see is a splash screen, right? Today you see Power Apps, right? When you open a Power App, you see a Power Apps logo in there. That can be changed. Like, if there is a company X, they can have their logo as a splash screen, and then, they can see it. And the login screen, the way they enter their username and password, that can be customized. A lot of icons, like, on your home screen, on your, shortcuts, like, within app, everywhere, the icons, on the store and the store description, everything can be changed. And the color theming itself, like, how your button color would look like, how your background of, of an app would look like, you can change all of it. So if you play around with it, Mark, you'll see, like, you'll not even feel like it as a Power Apps app.
Yeah.
You'll feel like a native standalone app.
And it's interesting you say that, because for the last 2 years, I've been asking, show me a Power App that I don't know is a Power App. Right? In other words, it doesn't look like the out-of-the-box Power App. It's been, I was just with a big customer the other day, around 20,000 seats, and their thing was their management, the executive layer in the organization is saying, hey, we love the functionality of what these apps can do, but we don't like the look. They're not on brand. They're not, when we've got that many, stakeholders using it in that side organization, they don't want to feel like, is this a company app or is this a Microsoft app? Because it looks, very Power App centric. And so I think that's fantastic. Tell me about high level configuration. What type of configuration needs to be done?
Like I said earlier, the first thing is you need to have a solution, which means you need to have a data warehouse. So if you don't have an environment without a data warehouse, then this wrap is not going to work for you. You cannot create a standalone apps, right? And the second two things that, one app center, right? So the app you need to create in Azure portal, right? You need to be an admin. So if you go to the app registration page, you create an app, and there you can actually choose explicitly, like, hey, you're creating an app for iOS, you're creating an app for Android, and is it a React Native app or is it an Objective-C app? Like, it gives you multiple configurations. So you need to be aware of what it is, but you don't have to configure it. We will configure it for you, right? If at all you in the troubleshooting phase, probably you have to go and look at it there, but we will configure all that for you, right?
Yeah.
So that's one bigger configuration. And the second configuration is your App Center, right? That's where your output goes, right? Giving permissions to App Center, how do you distribute is something the key. And we will also configure it for you. We'll take your token during the wizard, in the wizards. There you will configure it. So these two are the main things. And now Azure, once you create this app ID, a lot of things that should happen behind the scene, which is all the resources that you configure, right, that you start to use should be configured, right? Like, for example, if you want to use SharePoint, right? If you want to use, Outlook, right? So now the app that you are creating is no more a Microsoft first-party app. This is your standalone app. This is your app, right? So then how does Microsoft Outlook or SharePoint trust this app, right? So there are few configurations that admin has to run, which we have documented. We made it a PowerShell scripts for it. The admin will go and say, like, hey, here is the app. This is still part of this tenant.
Yes.
Please trust this.
Yes.
Right? And then we'll take that admin request, and then we'll make sure this app will basically put it in the allow list, and then make sure this app has access to all the other resources that this app wants to access. Another interesting thing, another configuration that is not visible, but still we do it internally, is if you go give a consent to one of your connections, right? And then when you open the same app outside of Power Apps app in a native app, we will use the same consent. You really don't have to give another consent.
Excellent.
The app ID for Power Apps app and your native app will treat it in the same way.
Awesome.
Right? So that configuration, is so deep and, is needed for a seamless customer experience. It's not like, hey, I created a new native app and I have to do a bunch of configurations to get it working. No, that's not the case. We handled as much as we can. There are a few things that admin has to do, like, making sure this app is a first party app. And then they should be, use this native app in a very seamless way.
Excellent. How do we distribute apps then? How do they get rolled out?
So there are few, distribution channels, and every company or every tenant has their own way of, distributing it. Microsoft has App Center, right? If we publish through App Center gives you a QR code, and then you can just go scan it, and then you can download the app, or all the mobile users within the company, and then they can start using it. Intune is another channel, right? That's one of the favorite distribution channels for Microsoft customers. So you upload your APK, you upload your IPA to Intune, and then force users to download it from there, right? What I mean by force is there is an option called force install.
Yes.
So when you open the company portal on your device, it will automatically install this app for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that way companies can say, here are the apps for you. It's not necessarily one app, right? It could be multiple apps. And for each different app, they can explicitly set their conditional policies, right? Hey, for this app, this is a policy. For this app, this is a policy. So they can use any MDM framework, for Microsoft, it's Intune, and then distribute their app, both Google and Android. And for Google, they will allow you to take it and ship it to Play Store also, right? But as you pointed out rightly earlier, the world needs to know about this app because they cannot log in, except that only that tenant needs to log in.
Yes.
So it's not required to go to Play Store, but nothing is stopping, our users to push their APK to Play Store. Whereas Apple, they don't allow, right? Apple is very strict in this kind of in their policies. Apple encourages Apple Enterprise Program.
Yes.
A company should buy Apple Enterprise Program, and then they can push this IPA and then distribute this app, in their mobile users within their company.
Yeah. Excellent. I take it all the setup is at a tenant level, not an environment level, right?
It is at the tenant level, correct.
Yeah, excellent. What about if I need to update the app? I've got a new feature request that I want to push out. How's that handled?
This is an excellent question. I'll take it two-part, okay? The first part is changes to your app itself, right? Let's say you have two text boxes and a button. On click of a button, you're basically storing the results into Dataverse. And then now you added another text box. And then what should I do? It works exactly the same way as it does today. When you open the native app, it shows you a pop-up, hey, newer version is available. Click on it. It basically downloads everything for you. So this is the most powerful feature, because today any native apps, if you look at it, you get updates only when you download it from the store. Right? You go click on the update and then you will download it.
Yes.
But this one, within the app, you'll see the next version. You click on it, you just download and use it, right? Now the second part is the actual platform itself. We call it as player, the player code. So that we encourage everyone whoever is creating the native apps or wrapping and creating native apps, they should re-wrap to get those latest updates once in 2 months is good enough.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
If there are any crucial security updates, then we will notify them like, hey, this is super important. There is a security fixes that are in this particular release. So please take and rewrap it, right?
Yeah.
So two ways, your Power Apps app and your player itself. Your Power Apps app, automatically you'll get it. No change in there. The player, you need to rewrap and publish it, a newer version in your, store. Yes. And then your customers can download it. Mobile users can download it.
Yeah. Well, this is so good. So such a great advancement. You mentioned that this is a premium feature, so you'd obviously need a premium license to use it. A couple of things that jump to mind. One is around the digital signing certificates that we talked about earlier on. And this is probably my ignorance in understanding using digital certificates to sign software, because my experience in my career has only been digital certificates to secure internet connections. And so that that certificate, it's not by a third party, right? It's an Azure type feature that you can digitally sign the app. Is that right? Or do you need a third party?
No, you don't need third party. So once you have your developer, let's talk about Android, right? Once you have a developer account, once you install the Android Studio, you get a tool called Key Tool. Right. And then you give your, credentials, use that Key Tool, and then generate a hash and a certificate, and then tie them together. So that's the certificate you use it for sign.
Excellent. That solves that. Last question I have before we wrap up, I see we're at time, is around telemetry information. If I was building a standard iOS app, one of the things I probably want to do is monitor, where are people closing down the app? Where are they exiting it? Does it seem that they're on a user journey within the app and then they, for whatever reason, they don't go anywhere? Is there any kind of, telemetry that can be fed back to understand how the app can be improved over time?
Yeah, so we are working on it, but the telemetry to understand or diagnose a problem with the secured, in a secured way. What I mean is PII or any, being UDP compliant, all of this, excluding all of that, we are logging everything that can help our customers who are actually wrapping.
Yeah.
But there are requests which we are considering because mobile users can now give feedback to makers and to Microsoft. Right? Because a native app, when it is published out, the reviews that you get for that app, publishers of that app would see, not the Microsoft. So the publisher in this case is our makers, right?
Yes.
So how would we get the feedback from our users? And how can we help to improve the app is a thought process that we are, still evaluating. Right? How can we do this? But in short, yes, we have the telemetry. If any of these customers face an issue, if they contact us, then we know what is happening. We have all monitoring, alerts, everything in place. We definitely know before they know, so we will fix it. But yes, the answer is yes.
Excellent. Now, so has V2 GA'd?
V2 is not in GA. It's public previewed last month, and we are planning the GA sometime in April or May, depending on how many bugs our customers would file.
Yes. Sitaram, this has been a very, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me here. It's been an honor.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If there's a guest you'd like to see on the show from Microsoft, please message me on LinkedIn. If you want to be a supporter of the show, please check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. How will you create on the Power Platform today? Ciao.